Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a war that was, well, incredibly short, but its consequences were absolutely enormous. We're talking about a conflict that completely reshaped America's place in the world. So let's jump right in with one of the most iconic images from the Spanish-American War, Theodore Roosevelt and his Rough Riders. Looking at this picture, it kind of begs the question, why do parts of this story seem lost?
The Rough Riders. They were this volunteer cavalry unit, a real mix of guys. Cowboys, Ivy Leaguers, Texas Rangers, the whole shebang. They became instant legends. You have to understand, at the time there was this widespread anxiety about immigration and the closing of the American frontier. So these guys, they became the symbol of a new rugged all-American man.
But here's the thing about that popular memory. It was carefully, very carefully crafted by Roosevelt himself, and it often leaves out a pretty crucial part of the story. The veteran African-American regiments who fought right there alongside them, just as bravely.
Okay, so what exactly pushed the U.S. into this war in the first place? Well, it all started with a huge, mysterious explosion down in Havana Harbor.
The battleship USS Maine was down there to, protect American interests, while Cuba was fighting for its independence from Spain. And when it sank, killing 266 crewmen, it became this massive national rallying cry. To this day, we still don't know for sure what caused the explosion.
And that event? It was the perfect fuel for a powerful new force in the media, yellow journalism. This was basically a style of reporting that cared way more about sensationalism than facts, and it was pioneered by newspaper titans who were locked in this fierce war for more readers.
Before any official investigation was even close to finished, the papers just started pointing fingers. They were making up evidence, shocking readers with these gruesome images, anything to sell more papers.
They didn't just report the news, they literally created a narrative of Spanish treachery. And what's so interesting here is the certainty it projects. Torpedo hole discovered. No question mark, just a statement of fact, or, well, what they wanted people to think was fact.
And boom, there it is. This headline basically delivers the final verdict. The press had made up its mind, and it was pushing a pretty reluctant President McKinley and a super fired-up public straight toward war. By the way, if you're finding this explainer valuable, please give it a like. It really helps the channel grow.
So, with the cry, "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain," the United States declared war. This kicked off a conflict that was, frankly, incredibly swift and decisive.
The fighting happened on two main fronts. Over in the Pacific, the Spanish fleet was pretty much wiped out in a matter of hours. And in the Caribbean, U.S. forces, including the Rough Riders, seized key positions in Cuba. It all happened so fast.
The whole war lasted less than 4 months, but its conclusion, which was formalized in the Treaty of Paris, fundamentally changed America's role on the world stage. And hey, while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and drop a comment below.
And just like that, in one fell swoop, the United States gets itself a global empire. Spain hands over Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. Cuba becomes a U.S. protectorate, which basically means it's independent, but not really. It's still under American control. This kicked off a huge, fierce debate back home. Was America still a republic, or had it just become an empire?
Folks who were for expansion, like President McKinley, they framed it as a moral duty. It was a mission, they said, to give American values to their new subjects.
But prominent anti-imperialists like Mark Twain saw it completely differently. He used this sharp satire to condemn what he saw as a total betrayal of American principles. You can really feel the sarcasm in that quote.
So here's a crucial point. The end of the war with Spain was not the end of the fighting, not by a long shot. For one of America's brand new possessions, it was really just the beginning of a whole new conflict.
Let's look at how this played out. The Filipinos, they had hoped for independence after centuries under Spanish rule, but now they just had a new colonizer, so they resisted, and that sparked a brutal, bloody, and honestly, an often overlooked conflict, the Filipino-American War. And if you enjoy this kind of deep dive, hit that like button to help us make more.
And get this, that's about how long the U.S. was in the Philippines as a colonial power, almost 44 years, all the way from the end of the war until 1946.
The U.S. strategy was essentially to try and win hearts and minds through education. The goal was to create a society that looked a lot like America. Teach them American government, make English the main language, hoping they'd eventually just embrace American rule. But something pretty remarkable happened. The Filipinos completely subverted this strategy. They used the very tools of American education to build a stronger, more unified nationalist movement. They literally started arguing for independence using America's own democratic language against them.
This quote really shows you the disconnect. While McKinley was talking about Christianizing the Philippines, many Filipinos felt that American influence was materialistic and actually spiritually damaging. It just made their desire for independence even stronger.
So why does all this matter today? Well, because this short little war marked a fundamental turning point. It set the United States on a brand new path as a global power and created these really complex relationships with Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines that absolutely endure to this day. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.
We'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. The war was just a few months, but its consequences defined a century. So, how does the story a nation tells about its own past actually shape its future? Thank you so much for joining us on The Explainer.